My Industry Thesis, The Shift from Building Blocks to Finished Products Part 1, number 1709, the 8th of July 2026, Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation, category, now medical note. Preface for readers, this is for my YouTube readers. Just as physical health requires systemic, foundational discipline, the health of an industry depends on structural integrity as well. Eat more protein and fresh vegetables, eat less red meat and processed food, reduce food portions if overweight. Eating a little less will not hurt you, overeating for yours will. Exercise every day. Walk at least 7,000 to 8,000 steps daily. Drink 85 to 100 ounces to 0.5 to 3.0 liters of water each day. Sleep 6 to 7 hours every night. Manage stress. Avoid emotionally draining people and unnecessary conflicts. Put your health first. Wealth, fame, and power mean little without health and life. Preface. This document is a personal research note rather than a formal, peer-reviewed medical research paper. It reflects my own observations, engineering and industrial experiences, and personal opinions. I am not attempting to prove a theory or persuade others to agree with my observations or conclusions. Instead, I simply want to record how I currently view an important transition taking place in the high-tech industry. Unlike my recent publications, this note has nothing to do with medical or health-related subjects. It returns to the field where I spend most of my professional life. My background lies at the intersection of artificial intelligence, mathematics, physics, engineering, business management, and engineering application AI tools. During the past 5 decades, I have lived and worked in Silicon Valley. Throughout a big portion of my professional career, I participated in developing fundamental electronics design automation EDA technologies used to design advanced integrated circuits IC chips. Those tools were never intended to become finished consumer products. Instead, they served as the engineering building blocks that enabled semiconductor companies to design increasingly sophisticated and complicated chips. Those chips, including today's AI chips from companies such as NVIDIA and AMD, became the hardware foundation for modern computers, PCs, smartphones, and AI industries. Because of that innovative and professional experience, I naturally view technology industries from the bottom upward rather than from the top downward. Many people first see the finished application. I instinctively look beneath the surface to understand the underlying architectures and structure components that makes the application possible. Recently, the dominant topic throughout Silicon Valley has been the wave of mass layoffs affecting AI and technology companies. I can see their impact in my own neighborhood. Local restaurants have fewer customers, business activity has slowed, and the economic changes are visible in everyday life. However, this research note is not about layoffs, nor is it primarily about large language models LLMs of current AI commercial tools. Instead, the layoffs simply caused me to think about a much larger question: what structural transition is today's AI industry going through? This note records my present and personal engineering thesis regarding that question. Body of my observations and comments based on my engineering background and my experience developing various AI-based application products and EDA technologies. I do not interpret today's changes as isolated business events. Instead, I see them as a natural stage in the evolution of the high-tech industry. Throughout my industrial career, I learned that every major technology industry develops through different but recognizable phases. Although every industry has its own characteristics, the underlying pattern often remains surprisingly similar. First comes the foundation building block phase. During this first fundamental period, companies require enormous and talented engineering resources to create the essential building blocks. Nothing exists yet. Every algorithm, software components and tools, hardware architecture, design methodology, manufacturing process, and supporting infrastructure must be invented, tested, and refined. This phase is extremely labor-intensive because engineers are creating the technology itself, relying primarily on their own natural intelligence and manual engineering efforts. Without the assistance of today's mature AI development tools, that was the environment in which I spent much of my own career. In the EDA industry, we were not building finished products for consumers. Instead, we developed the engineering tools or building block components that enabled semiconductor chip companies to design increasingly complex integrated circuits. Those chips, produced by companies such as NVIDIA and AMD, eventually became the computing engines that power today's AI platforms and applications developed by companies such as Google, OpenAI, Meta, Microsoft, Anthropic, and many others. This description makes the industry's hierarchy much clearer from Meta tools through semiconductor chip companies and ultimately to AI platforms and commercial applications. It aligns well with the central thesis of this research note. Without those building blocks or components, none of the higher-level user applications could exist. Eventually, however, every industry reaches a turning point. The emphasis gradually shifts away from creating the building blocks toward integrating them into useful commercial products. At that point, the engineering challenge changes fundamentally. The objective is no longer to invent every component from scratch. Instead, the goal becomes integrating, optimizing, deploying, and maintaining technologies that already exist. Consequently, the kinds of engineers required also begin to change. The organizational structure changes, the workflow changes, the business strategy changes. The entire industry begins operating differently. From my learned experiences and personal perspective, today's AI industry is entering exactly this stage. Much of the fundamental infrastructure now exists. Advanced AI chips, cloud computing platforms, foundation models, apps, development frameworks, and supporting software ecosystems have already been established. The current engineering emphasis has therefore shifted toward integration, optimization, fine-tuning, and commercial deployment. This is not unusual. It is exactly what I would expect from a maturing technology industry. However, I also believe the industry has discovered something important during this transition. Many commercial AI companies initially believed they could rapidly transform these technological building blocks into broadly intelligent commercial products. In my opinion, reality has proven to be more complicated. Current LLM technology has demonstrated remarkable capability in language understanding and language generation. For example, as a writing collaborator, during the past 2 years, AI has become an extraordinarily valuable tool for my medical research work. However, based on my own observations and experience, I believe there remains a substantial gap between today's language capabilities and the broader reasoning, structured thinking, engineering judgment, and scientific creativity required for many complex real-world applications, particularly in medical research field. For that reason, I believe portions of the industry are now recognizing that some foundational capabilities still require further development before the next generation of intelligent AI applications see and be built upon them. To me, this does not represent failure. It simply represents normal engineering evolution. Every generation of technology eventually discovers that some foundational layers require additional strengthening before the next layer can mature successfully. Another consequence of this transition is organizational change. During the early infrastructure building phase, large engineering organizations and multiple management layers are often necessary to coordinate massive development efforts. As products mature, however, companies naturally begin emphasizing efficiency, speed, adaptability, and direct technical execution. In my opinion, this evolution inevitably reduces the need for many traditional middle management positions. Leaner organizations can often adapt more rapidly to changing technology and market conditions. Again, I do not view this as the downfall of AI. I view it as the natural adaptation process of a maturing industry. Throughout my own career of 5 decades, I learned one lesson repeatedly. Survival does not belong to the biggest company, nor does it belong to the company with the most employees. It belongs to the company that recognizes structural change early and adapts successfully. The same principle applies to human biomedical systems. During the past 17 years of conducting my own medical research, I have repeatedly observed that maintaining health depends upon continuous pathophysiological adaptation rather than remaining static. I now see the same systems principle operating within the high-tech industry. Industries evolve, technology evolves, organizations evolve, human organs evolve too. The companies that survive will not necessarily be those with today's most popular products. Instead, they will be those that correctly identify the industry's next structural transition and adapt before everyone else. This is simply my personal thesis, based on my observations, my own experiences, and a lifetime spent building and watching technology industries evolve from their foundations upward, including my post-retirement observations since 2002. I actually think my concluding remarks shift the center of gravity away from mass layoffs, local economic impacts, and current LLM capabilities, and toward my underlying business survival model. Industries evolve by strengthening their foundational building blocks before successfully delivering real and mature applications to users. The layoffs, organizational changes, and the current state of AI become supporting observations rather than the main subject. This is part 1.